Video 9 is figuring out whether you want to work solo, maybe with another person, or if you want to try and figure out how to have a crew. I would always say that starting off solo is the way to start. Okay, that's the way that you're going to be able to break into the industry and not have other baggage of having to what are you going to have this other person do, how are you going to pay them, all that. So figuring out what it's going to take for you to get yourself going, making sure that you've got what you need, and then once you've got yourself figured out, skill set down, clients coming, then you get to the point in certain jobs, and it happened to me right away, where I needed help. And there are ways that, jobs that, it could be just the fact that you're lifting something that's too heavy for you to do by yourself, or there are just other parts of the job that you need help with, because in a day you can only get so much done. And if you're a lot of times with efficiency, if two of you are doing something and one person's doing a certain part of that, you can get it done not in half the time. It's sometimes a quarter of the time, just depending on what it is. Because if I'm doing a job where I have to physically be screwing something in, with an impact driver, but yet I've got to hold something or manipulate my body in a way that is very uncomfortable or unsafe, then I want somebody else to be there and hold it, right? Or if I'm doing a job where I'm getting rid of something or taking something down, I don't want to have to get off a ladder or whatever that is. I would rather hand it to somebody who can then take it and discard it. So there's an efficiency level of, and you'll figure that out. I'm just giving you some very, broad brushstrokes here. But you'll understand that when you get into certain jobs, having somebody else there, another hand there, is sometimes a great asset. And sometimes it's no asset at all, because there's nothing that they can do. If I'm doing a ceiling fan, there's not much they can do. If I'm doing any type of electrical work, there's not much that somebody else is going to be able to do for you, unless you're running tons of, hundreds of feet of line that you need people feeding or whatever. But for the most part, I would say that, probably 80% of the work that I do, I'm doing alone. It's just the nature of the beast for most of the trades. If you're doing plumbing, most times plumbers work alone. Electricians work alone. Carpenters, a lot of times they work alone. It's the crew type stuff that you need, where you're hanging big cabinets, or you're building a big deck, or you're adding on to an addition, and you got framers and different things like that. That's when you need the other people. But those jobs typically come with a higher price tag, so it makes more sense to have those people, because that's, it's part of the embedded cost factor that goes into them. So, moving beyond that, this is really just a call that you have to make. This is probably the most simplistic one of these videos, but you'll learn quickly the jobs that you can't do, the jobs that you can do. I will say that when you're doing jobs that you need ladders, having people spot you on those ladders can also be very beneficial. Understanding that when you're, in the insurance world, they call it the 8 to 10 foot falls are called 50-50 falls. And I'm, not trying to scare you, but those are the ones where they're 50-50, meaning whether or not you're going to live or die. Okay. So being 8 to 10 feet up, you're going to do a lot of jobs that you're going to be 8 to 10 feet up. I've done jobs where I've been 30 feet up, and it's not great. You get used to being on ladders, but you want to make sure that if you have a situation where your ladder could slip out from underneath you, having somebody else there holding it can literally save your life. So most jobs you're going to be able to do by yourself. There are the other ones that having somebody else there that you trust, that's going to work hard for you and is going to be an asset to you. Because, if you have somebody there that isn't that, and it becomes contentious, then that doesn't help either, because then the work environment isn't what it needs to be, and it's pulling you away from being effective. So, I'll go one step further. If you have somebody else that's working for you and they're going to start doing skilled parts of your job, you're going to have to take the time also to help bring them up to speed, or to teach them or train them how to do those things. And so that's where you have to also say to yourself, what amount of time am I going to put into this, where it's a it's an advantage as opposed to a detractor, right? And so again, I can't tell you everything. I can just help steer you. But as you get into this, if you really start rolling, you start making good money. You realize that there's a niche that you get into that, maybe you do. You get into the deck building business, or you get into the addition building business, and you become really, really good and gifted at that. And then you hire a crew. Yeah. Maybe in 3 years, you have an entire crew underneath you, and you're the one that's out there being the general contractor, finding the jobs, comptrolling the jobs, and making sure that everything's done smoothly. That's not a bad thing. The problem is, and with what I do, and the reason why I get jobs is because I'm the one doing the work. And that is, for most of my clients, a big deal as to why they hire me. And they hire me because I'm there, I'm communicating with them, and I'm doing the work. And so that is a very warm and fuzzy feeling to them. So again, all this stuff are nuances. Figure out what it is you want to do, how you want to do it, and then proceed and do the best job you can. And to end all of this, we're going to talk about safety, and what are the things that you need to make sure that you're going to continue to be able to work into the future.